Alright, no long intro today. This topic's important and I know that you just want to get straight to the point, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask AI to break down the latest polls, explain what they really mean, and then give us its detailed prediction for the 2006 midterms. Put simply, whether the Democrats will have a shot at flipping the House or the Senate. But before we get into it, make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and share this video on all of your socials, because these actions really help the channel to grow. Alright, now let's get into the chat. Alright, here we go. First, let me show you the messages where I asked it to gather up all the latest info so that ChatGPT is fully up to date and ready to give us a real analysis. It needs to be clear, straightforward, totally unbiased, call things exactly as they are with no sugarcoating or fluff or any of that. So first, I'm going to ask it to break down the latest polls and explain what they actually mean. And here's what it said. Alright, let's get real about these midterm polls. Everyone likes to spin them like they're destiny written in stone, but they're not. They're just snapshots of mood, and moods change. That said, moods also tell you where the wind is blowing, and right now the wind is tilted against the people in power. Republicans hold the White House and both chambers of Congress, so the natural midterm gravity is pulling against them. That's history, that's math, and unless something major flips the script, they're fighting uphill. The most straightforward number is the generic ballot. Democrats are up by a few points in most averages. On paper, that's not huge, but it matters because of how districts are drawn. Democrats are bunched into cities. Republicans are spread out more evenly, which means Democrats usually need at least a 2-point edge nationally just to break even. Sitting 3 or 4 points ahead right now means they're in striking distance of flipping the House. That's the clearest read from the polls. Democrats are in position, Republicans are on defense. Now look at Trump's approval. It's underwater, low 40s in most polls, mid 40s at best. Disapproval higher than approval consistently. That's poison in a midterm. Voters see the midterm as a referendum, and if they don't like the president, they take it out on his party. Unless Trump can push himself closer to 50%, Republicans will lose ground. That's just how midterms work. The Senate, though, is a different animal. Republicans have the map on their side. They're defending more seats, but most are in states Trump carried easily. Democrats, on the other hand, have to hold Georgia, Michigan, and New Hampshire, all states that lean purple. To take the Senate, Democrats would need to win every one of those tough defenses and flip a Republican seat somewhere like North Carolina or Maine. That's possible, but it's a tall order without a bigger national wave than what we're seeing. So the Senate still leans Republican. State polls are noisy, and you'll see wild swings. A Democrat up 6 in one poll, a Republican up 2 in the next. The truth is usually in the middle, and the middle means toss-ups. That's where candidate quality really matters. Put up someone credible, and you can win a purple state. Nominate a clown, and you can lose even in a state that should lean your way. So here's the bottom line. Democrats are favored to take the House narrowly. Republicans are favored to keep the Senate narrowly, and governors' races will likely split down the middle. It's a knife's edge, and a small swing in either direction could change the whole story. That's what the polls are really saying. Well, alright, that's what we've got right now, got it, but we're still more than a year out, and of course things could change. Based on everything we know and what could happen over the next year, I want ChatGPT to give us its prediction. So, let's ask AI and see what it thinks about the outcome in November of 2026. And here it is. I think Democrats will retake the House, Republicans will hang on to the Senate, and the governor's races will split, with each side picking up a couple of major states. That's the most realistic outcome given the map, the polling, and the history of midterms. Let's start with the House. Republicans have only the thinnest majority right now, Democrats only need to flip a handful of seats, and there are about 20 Republican incumbents in districts that lean Democratic in the last presidential race. That's fertile ground. Add in retirements and a generic ballot edge of 2 to 4 points for Democrats, and the math tilts blue. Midterms almost always punish the president's party, and Trump's approval rating is stuck in the low 40s. That's the exact setup where Democrats should make gains. I don't see a huge landslide, but I do see Democrats scraping together a narrow majority, something in the 220 to 225 seat range. The Senate is tougher. The map simply favors Republicans. Democrats are defending vulnerable seats in Georgia, Michigan, and New Hampshire, all of which can flip if Republicans put up competent candidates. Republicans, by contrast, are defending mostly solid red states where Democrats have little chance. For Democrats to win the Senate, they'd have to sweep their own toss-ups, and then flip at least one Republican seat in a red-leaning state like North Carolina or Maine. That's a stretch unless there's a clear anti-Republican wave nationally. Right now, the numbers don't point to that. My call is Republicans end up with 51 to 53 seats. In other words, they hold the Senate, even if their margin isn't huge. Governor's races are the wild card. There are some massive contests on the table: Florida, Georgia, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Arizona. I expect these to split. Democrats could grab Georgia or Arizona, where demographics and suburban turnout help them. Republicans have a real shot in Michigan and Pennsylvania, where the states went for Trump in 2024. Wisconsin will be another razor-thin fight as always. Florida is likely to stay red, especially with Byron Donalds running with Trump's blessing. California and New York should stay blue. In the end, both sides will notch wins they can brag about, but nobody dominates the map. The drivers here are the basics: Trump's middling approval, Democrats' small but steady national edge, and the Senate map that forces Democrats onto defense. Nothing in the polling so far suggests a wave large enough to sweep both chambers. The electorate looks polarized and divided, which usually means split results. So my honest November 2026 prediction? Democrats flip the House, Republicans keep the Senate, and governor's races break roughly even. That sets up 2 more years of gridlock in Washington and a fierce fight heading into 2028. Well, I mean, that sounds reasonable, don't you think? Let's just hope the chaos that Trump's made slows down a bit after that. Quick note to the haters, I am not unbiased. I try to ask the questions without spin, but the whole point of this channel is that AI is the one that's unbiased and not me. Sorry for the quick interruption, just wanted to clear that up. Alright, where were we? Oh yeah, right. What would happen to Trump's policies with that outcome? Actually, you don't have to imagine it because I'm about to ask ChatGPT. But before I get on to that, if you're enjoying this video, be sure that you hit that like button right now, subscribe to the channel, and drop a quick comment to help this video get more views. Those are all the things that actually work, and that way you can help the channel to reach new people, and it's also good for you because YouTube's going to recommend you more videos like this one. Okay, since we're talking about Donald Trump, you should know that I've got a whole playlist on him, and really, you'll find everything on it. Breakdowns of his immigration policies, his tariffs, foreign policy, fact checks of his speeches, and predictions on what he might do next, many of which have actually turned out to be spot on. Now, I don't really know how, but we predicted his split with Musk 6 months before it happened, the mass protests in LA against ICE raids 3 weeks before they started, and plenty more that you just have to see for yourself. So definitely check out that playlist when we're done here. All right, let's get down to the final part. Now, let's ask AI this. If its prediction does turn out to be right, what would it mean for Donald Trump and his policies? And here's the answer. If Democrats flip the House in 2026 while Republicans hold the Senate, Trump's domestic agenda stalls out hard. That's the bottom line. He'd lose control of the legislative pipeline. Nothing major gets passed without the House, and the Democrats would use their new majority to block, delay, or outright kill any policy he wants that requires congressional approval. Immigration, tax cuts, federal budget priorities, anything involving new laws. All of that gets gridlocked. Worse for Trump, it's not just that he can't push new laws. A Democratic House also gets subpoena power. That means investigations, hearings, oversight, impeachment chatter might come back on the table, especially if anything blows up legally or politically between now and then. Even if they don't try to impeach, they'll drag every scandal into the spotlight. That alone would bog his administration down. However, Trump's not helpless. If he keeps the Senate, he still controls confirmations. He can fill judgeships, push through appointments, and keep shaping the courts. And of course, he'll keep signing executive orders, working through the bureaucracy, doing whatever he can without Congress, but executive actions don't last. Courts can block them, and the next administration can reverse them. Without the House, he loses long-term impact. So politically, it's a blow. It'd send the signal that voters want a check on him, and Trump hates being checked. He'd spin it, blame rhinos, blame the media, maybe even blame voters. But inside, it would sting. His base would stay loyal, but independents would be signaling enough. He'd still be dominating headlines and blasting away on social media, but when it comes to actually passing laws, he's stuck. And don't forget, if Democrats take the House, they control the budget fights. That means Trump can't spend how he wants, whether it's more money for the border wall, new tax cuts, or a bigger defense budget. He'd have to negotiate. If Democrats play it tough, he could be forced into vetoes, short-term deals, or even face government shutdowns. That kind of gridlock takes the momentum out of his second term. Bottom line, if my prediction holds, Dems take the House, GOP keeps the Senate, then Trump finishes his second term with limited power. No big legislative wins, and a constant political fight on his hands. It wouldn't break him, but it would lock him in a defensive crouch, and everything he does would be through the lens of protecting what he already did, not building something new. And that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments what you think about this prediction, and be sure to share your own thoughts down below. While you're here, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit that join or thanks button if you want to support the channel directly. And you know what? We're not done yet. I've got something more for you. Here I asked AI to predict the winner of the 2028 presidential election. It picked the candidates from both parties and even named the next president. Alright, thanks for watching. Click on this next video, and I'll be waiting for you there in just a moment.